Well, today's bulletin is, sorry, I spotted the other day, 13,000, more than 13,000 people who arrived here more than 10 years ago and put in their applications. These are migrants. Many of them probably came across on rubber dinghies across the channel. Many of them probably Albanians. Put in their applications for asylum, political asylum, and those applications are still being processed more than a decade later. 10 years. What on earth is going on? Surely they could be processed in less than a decade.
Oh, it's shocking and shameful to know that these 13,000 people have not had their asylum applications actually completed. But there's numbers now to us that are becoming a kind of weird and wonderful diet of our reviews. I mean, we can look at the fact that there's over nearly 61,000 who've not had their applications looked at for 3 years. Now, all I can say about that is that there is clearly huge problems in the Home Office. They've got staff retention issues. They're not capable of assessing people swiftly and quickly. And when we know where most of these people are coming from, the top 4 or 5 countries are Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia, and now we've got the growing Albanian issue, it shouldn't be beyond the wit of man to be able to create a process that deals with them quickly and then gets rid of them when they are not genuine asylum seekers.
It strikes me, Stephen, that Suella Braverman, the Home Secretary, who, by the way, came into office talking a very tough game, I will be the Home Secretary who solves the migrant crisis. Not looking too good so far, Suella, I would suggest. She's gone from being the tough-talking Home Secretary who will solve the migrant crisis to the less than tough-talking Home Secretary who spends all her time trying to find more hotels to billet these migrants in. 440 so far. 440 hotels are full of migrants. They're looking for 200 more. And Rishi Sunak's talking about commandeering holiday camps to put them in. Hi, that'll sort the problem out. So it just seems to me that Suella, probably like her predecessor, Priti Patel, is just overwhelmed by all of this and doesn't even know where to start. I would suggest one place to start would be these antediluvian asylum applications that have been hanging around for more than 10 years. Appoint one of Rishi's favourite task forces to actually get to grips with these ancient applications and get them processed right now. That would be a good place to start, wouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I'm afraid that some people are mentioning Suella Braverman as not being the person who is strong in immigration, but more the chief executive of Costa del England on behalf of the people smugglers. When you're looking for that many hotels, 600 hotels, that's a bigger chain than perhaps the Travelodge. So she really does need to get to grips with it. And I've looked at this and I've reviewed what the Prime Minister has been looking and saying, both in his January speech, his party political broadcast. It's clear that he wants to get on top of the brief, but it looks like there might be some short-term issues that they're trying to deal with. And one of those is to reduce the numbers of asylum applicants. And I think that's going to be done by just granting them more and more grants of protection, i.e. rights to stay, because I've seen in the numbers a massive increase, a huge percentage increase over the last few years. And I worry that that's the way they're trying to solve it.
Now, you and I last week, I think it was, Stephen, we talked about another set of people that we can't seem to get rid of. It's sort of almost more worrying. And this is people that we want to deport, dangerous foreign criminals, many of whom have done time in our jails for offences like rape, murder, drug dealing. We can't get rid of them. I think you quoted me the number. It's somewhere near 3,000 who we're trying to deport. We can't get rid of them because they've got, drum roll, human rights. Usually they've found themselves some sort of British girlfriend or boyfriend, I should say. Shouldn't be sexist about this. But mainly we're talking about blokes, obviously. And they've had a child, and therefore their human right is to stay here and be with their child. But we have going on 3,000 really dangerous people remain in this country, a threat to society, because of their human rights. Why can't we get rid of people who have no right to be in this country? Those asylum seekers for 10 years, these deportees.
Well, the first and foremost is the law. Without a doubt, they rely on the Human Rights Act and also the European Courts of Human Rights and the immigration industry that supports them in being able to challenge the government at every way in the process. So that's the first blockage that the Home Office needs to solve, and we saw that with Priti Patel, we saw that with Boris Johnson, we've now got it under Suella Braverman. They are not willing to take the massive decisions at this moment, which is removing ourselves from the European Courts of Human Rights. The second, again, is international conventions. A lot of this is based on the UN Convention on Refugees. Now, I agree with that. We ought to have some sort of convention that deals with genuine asylum seekers. But such is the growth in economic migrants, then our government should be crying from the rooftop for an amendment to actually clarify what is actually an economic migrant and how they can then avoid any use of the Refugee Convention to allow people to stay. And that would deal with our discretionary rules. And thirdly, and more importantly, we need a strong Prime Minister and a strong Home Secretary is willing to challenge those thugs who stop flights from moving when we do have genuinely economic migrants and foreign criminals that need to leave. That has to end, and the police need to stop pussyfooting around when it comes to those issues and allow those planes to go.
And let's make no mistake, it is our policies, our inability to deal with all of this, the fact there are 13,000 asylum seekers who've been here for more than 10 years. That's the selling point. That's what the people smugglers advertise to the migrants. They say, once you get onto those British beaches, you're home and dry. You can stay for almost as long as you like. That's the point, isn't it, Stephen?
Well, and the proof is in the pudding. The proof is the fact that you've got 13,000 asylum applicants here after 10 years. The proof is that last year there was 13,000 failed asylum applications and they have not been removed. Or the proof is the fact that the year before there was 15,000 asylum applications refused and they've not been removed. If we carry on, I reckon that we've probably got in the region of 100,000, although our research on that is not complete, just in the last 10 years of people who've had their applications refused and they're sitting here not moving. Obviously, we know of the 13,000, but I suspect there's a lot more.
So this time last week, I believe I said to you, I bet we talk about this next week again. And I bet we talk about it next week, Stephen.